engineer by hobby, by profession. I work at a power utility company, and what we do there is we integrate systems. So by qualification, I'm an electrical engineer, but what I do at work is essentially bringing all the disciplines together: electrical, civil, mechanical, when we're doing design work. So in design work, I bring the bigger picture together. But I'm also now doing something different, which is looking at the engineering systems that enable that to happen. And that's my current project. And then everything else my boss tells me to do. As long as I make him look good, I'm happy, he's happy, we're happy. Life is good. When I think about my life, it really is about who am I and what are the things that I do to make this world a better place to be, or whatever the case may be. So I have two boys. My boys are 4 and almost 2, and they are a handful. But they're my priority. My husband, my children, always my priority. So when I start my day, or when I look at the year ahead, I always plan what their activities are first, and then I look at what else can fit in. In the evenings is when I typically do the pastor stuff. I'm a pastor together with my husband at his people church. And then when it comes to everything else, then you just make time for friends. So you try and open up the weekend, try to have your children have a life. And yeah, everything comes together. It actually works quite well. I really feel like my life is balanced. It's busy, but it's balanced. 10 years ago, that's 2005. 2005, I had graduated from school. I had got my first job, and I was plugged into my first job. I was wanting to know everything about it. So I was working in the automotive industry, but I didn't want to be a desk engineer. I wanted to be like the person who understands how everything works in terms of putting a whole car together. So I spent a lot of my time sitting with the technicians and the artisans, the people who are sitting in the workshops. That's where I spent my time, getting to know how everything works, so that when I go and design something, it actually makes sense. Understanding the people who actually do the work, what makes their work easier. So I wanted to see the bigger picture again, back to the bigger picture. So that's what I was doing work-wise, because I was just trying to get my foot in the door in terms of working. In terms of everything else about my life, my family's all over the place. My sister's in Israel. My mom is in Israel, and my sister was in the UK at that time. So I didn't see much of them. I had my friends, and we were hanging out. We were doing life. I was in my early 20s, so life is good. No responsibilities except working. And at that point in time, I had just gotten out of a really bad relationship. Just towards the end of the previous year in 2004. So I was picking up the pieces of myself, literally from the floor. And towards the mid of that year, I was dating this guy in 2003 when we broke up, because he was in South Africa, I was in the US, and we just didn't see how it was going to work out. So he called me back, and he was like, I really believe that we're meant to be together. And when he said that, I was like, no, I'm not really interested. It's just me and God right now. I really am not interested in being in a relationship. But lo and behold, God was on his side. And we ended up getting back together in 2005. So that was the beginning of really a new experience for both of us, and just waiting to see where it was going to go, what was going to happen. So needless to say, we're married now with our 2 boys. So life was good, and it was meant to be, and God just orchestrated everything, came together really well. So that's where I was 10 years ago. First thing I tell my younger self is hold on to God with everything that you've got. Because what I realized is that over time, I was a people pleaser. So because of that, I lost God, I lost myself in trying to please other people. And when I finally got out of that last relationship, when I was saying that, no, I just want to be with God, then at that point in time, I was like, that's it. It's about you. And ever since then, everything's just been coming together. Fine, it took a lot of picking up myself back again, but I realized that he's the person that I needed from the beginning. He's the one that orchestrated everything about me, knows everything about me, knows everything about where I'm supposed to go. And because of that, everything just works out. So he's the one with the blueprint. He's the one who loves you the most. He's the one who knows about you the most. One of the things that I'd also tell myself or my younger self is find someone who you look up to, someone who will guide you, someone who will help you. And you find, especially when you're almost a teenager, you don't want to listen to anyone else. You think you know better than anyone else. But find that person. There's always that person you look up to. And I'm not talking about a celebrity. I'm talking about a real person with real life, living real life that you know, that you have a relationship with. And let that person be a guide for you. And also it's obviously important to have that person plugged into God, that their life is a reflection of someone who's following after God, who's a real Christian, not just Christian by title. And you'll find those people will change over time. Today it may be one person and you're allowed to fire them, get someone else if they don't suit you anymore. But you'll always find that the more you aspire, there's always someone else that you look up to. And that's the person who you should use. So it could become different people over your lifetime. One thing I really believe is that you're born with a purpose, for a purpose, and you're not just in this world to just randomly walk through and die at the end of it all. I really believe that from the day that you are born, God put something inside of you. So from the day you're born, you have a purpose. God has a plan for your life. God has a destiny for you. And it's really up to you to pursue that. It's really up to you to then walk through and find what is that thing. And you usually find sometimes we're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. But think about, what are you good at? What are your strengths? What are the things that you thrive, that you do easily, that just come easily to you? What are those things? And those things are where your giftings and your purpose and your passion lies. And you'll find that because it comes so easy, you love doing it. I love to sing. I'm not 100% great at it, but I can hold a tune. I love what I do at work, is, for example, engineering. I've always known that I wanted to be an engineer. I pursue that. I pursue it with passion. I'm passionate about it because I enjoy doing it and it comes easy to me. And for me, that is when I think about passion, when I think about purpose, that's what I think about, is what are those things that you're good at? You have strengths. Irrespective of where you are in your life, there's certain things that always remain a strength. So you just need to identify what is that thing that is your strength and run with it. See where it takes you. And you'll find that life is just so much more enjoyable. And when things become difficult, because they will at some point, it's easy to tolerate it because you're operating in your passion. You're doing what you love. Live a healthy lifestyle. I wish I told my younger self that. Someone should have told my younger self that. It's so much harder to pick up on a healthy lifestyle when you're older. When you're younger and you're exposed to understanding the purpose and the benefits of living a healthy lifestyle, it makes it so much easier because it becomes a lifestyle. So now I'm trying to create a lifestyle of a lifestyle that was never a lifestyle. And I have to do that now. But it's harder. It requires a lot more discipline. It requires a lot more energy, a lot more focus. Whereas if I told my younger self, or if someone told my younger self this 10 years ago, I'd be a lot further. I would be living a healthy lifestyle. So that's one of the things that I'll tell myself, because it's probably one of my biggest struggles at the moment. So when I talk about a healthy lifestyle, what's practically been for me is exercising. Now, exercising could take different forms. I enjoy going to the gym. So I go to the gym and I try and go at least 3 times a week for an hour. That has to be before the whole family is awake and everything. But I try and make sure that I get that in because it really helps me throughout my day and keep my energy levels up. Choosing what to eat. One of the things that I've had to learn, and my trainer keeps telling me, is prepare your food for your day. What are you going to eat today? Because that's how you end up eating all the junk that's not supposed to be eaten. So he keeps telling me, make sure you know what you're going to eat for the whole day. So plan your life. Plan what you need to do. And those are just two different two things that have made a difference in my life that has actually been very significant as opposed to where I was before. So here's what I would have told myself 10 years ago. Just wait. Wait until your husband comes, and then you can enjoy all the sex you want in the world. You have the rest of your life to do it. I did not tell myself that. And I think by then I had already made a whole bunch of mistakes in my life. And why I say that is from experience. I'm not just saying it because the Bible says that you shouldn't have sex before you're married. I'm saying that because I've seen the impact that it's had on me and my life. And when I finally got to the point where I was with my husband now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not a virgin. Can I even wear white to my wedding? You know, those type of things, because you become a Christian and then there's this whole complex that's created that you need to be this pure person, but you know you were not. So how does your life change overnight? And it doesn't. So you have to work through those things, and you have to keep reminding yourself, oh my gosh, yes, I'm pure before God. Everything that I did before doesn't apply anymore. And those are things you have to keep telling yourself. So why go through all that drama? It's not even worth it. Just wait and you'll enjoy it. There's nothing that anyone else does that's going to tell you anything different. The other thing we need to understand is from a biblical point of view or from a physical point of view, those are soul ties you're creating. Soul ties meaning when you sleep with a person, there's a spiritual connection. It's not just a physical act. It's a spiritual connection. So you need to know who you're connecting yourself to, because you may have a lot of baggage to take with you when you finally get married. The bottom line is, does God approve? And has he put his stamp on it? So that for me is the main difference. It's not, because if you think about it, sex itself is really just fulfilling a sensation and a feeling before marriage. What else are you doing it for? It's just to fulfill some tingles and things that you're feeling. But after marriage, there's purpose in it. Yes, there's enjoyment in it, absolutely. But you're now creating a family. You're creating something. You're having a spiritual experience with someone else who you've chosen, who you've come before God and said, God, this is the only person that I'm going to do this with. And so that spiritual connection, God honors that and God guides that. Before marriage, you're on your own. So is it worth taking the risk and leaving God behind? Identity. I cannot emphasize that enough. That for me is the core essence of who you are. And one thing I noticed, because I said I was a people pleaser, being a people pleaser, you lose yourself in everyone, because when you're with one person, you try to be one thing. When you're with someone else, you try to be someone else. And in that, you don't know who you are. And then you do whatever comes. You go with the flow. I think about the people who I look at. I look at my mom. If I look at where my mom came from, she was an only child and she was kind of that outsider, you know, when it comes to family. And she grew up and she really didn't have the opportunities, but there were so many opportunities that came her way later on. You know, her uncle became a lawyer and he put her through school. And she started off as a secretary and now she's worked her way, she trains. And she's working, you know, with a big organization, an international organization. She travels all over the world. She started off as someone who, if anyone ever thought about it, they'd have been like, no, she never amounted to anything. If I look at our lives even, specifically my family, my sister, my mother and I, after my dad passed away, everyone was like, oh, that's it. They're going to become prostitutes. They're not going to become worth anything. But my mom prayed. And she said, God, I want you to show the world that you're more than able to take care of women. 3 women, no men in the house. You can take care of them and you can bring them to become something. And my mom looks back and she says, honestly, I don't even know how it happened. It was all God. It's all God who brought us to where we are. That we got married before we had kids, which was something that's common in our family. Both of us are married. Both of us have children. We're educated. We are working. And this is from a woman who had nothing, who was a secretary. I mean, I can't think of a better example than my mom.
If you are advancing all by yourself and empowering no one, something's very wrong. I've learned that when I die, there should be more about my life than a mere tombstone. There should be a legacy of a life lived with passion and compassion.
I love quotes, and one of the quotes that I aspire to is one that says, "When I am dead, seek not my tomb on earth, but find it in the hearts of men." And for me, what that means is, okay, not men like men, but what that means for me is that if I really have lived a life that has made a difference, is that I can see someone else living their lives better because of having experienced me or knowing me or whatever the case may have. That is actually one of my passions, developing people. And I've always said that in developing people, when you start seeing them come to become, it's almost like blossoming into who they're supposed to be. There's no greater joy than that for me, just seeing someone grow. So I always say that if I die today, the one thing that I want to know is that someone else's life is better than mine, better than where I've been, better than what I've done, because I have chosen to give them everything about me that they can make the choice to go where they want to go.